Okay, this video is an introduction to the cleaning processes required in a titration, and the first thing we need to be able to do is to transfer our standard solution, which is over here, which we've made up in our volumetric flask, into our burette in order to do the titration. And what happens in the titration is we measure the volume required of standard solution from the burette. We measure that volume required to neutralize the unknown. And that means the burette allows us to measure the volume quite accurately. And if we know the concentration of our standard, we can use the fact that number of moles equals concentration times volume to figure out exactly how many moles of our standard chemical were required to neutralize the unknown, which is an important step in actually calculating the concentration of the unknown. But in order for that to happen, there needs to be two things. We need to be able to measure the volume and the concentration accurately. And the volume being measured accurately comes about because the burette is a very accurate measuring device. So as long as we use the burette properly, we've got our volume under control. The only thing is we've got to keep the concentration the same. And that can be a bit challenging, getting that concentration of standard solution from the volumetric flask to the burette. And the way we do that is by using a beaker in between. We never like pouring things straight from the volumetric flask into the burette because things can go wrong. You could spill it. It's not designed for pouring. So we put it into the beaker first, and then we use the beaker to fill up the burette. And we usually fill it up using a funnel as well. Only thing is that if we let any contaminants get into our standard solution, that means we might be changing the concentration of our standard solution. So the first thing we have to do is we have to wash everything we're using with water to get rid of contaminants. Wash our funnel, our beaker, and our burette with water, so it's all clean from contaminants. The only problem is, as we can see, is that once you've washed something with water, you've got a thin layer of water inside that bit of glassware, and therefore if you pour your standard solution into it, you're going to dilute your standard solution. So you've got to make sure that you get rid of that water somehow, and the most effective way of getting rid of that water and to make sure you're not going to dilute your standard solution is to, once you've done that, is you actually then wash everything out with your standard solution. And by washing it out with your standard solution, you're bringing the concentration of that residue up to or close to the value of your standard solution. And the more times you wash things out, the closer and closer and closer the concentration will be to the actual standard solution's concentration. For our purposes in our experiment, we're going to wash things out with water once and then with the standard solution once. And that means that we're going to assume that residue is now at the right concentration. It is the concentration of the standard solution. So then when we pour our standard solution into our beaker, we know we're not diluting the standard solution. Then when we pour from the beaker through the funnel into the burette, we know we're not diluting our standard solution. So we know that when we've got our standard solution inside the burette, it is at exactly the same concentration as what was in the standard solution. Now, as far as the HSC is concerned, they're probably not going to ask you the steps of cleaning the beaker and cleaning the funnel, but they will ask you the appropriate way to clean the burette. And you must know to clean the burette, first of all, you use water to remove any impurities, and then you clean it with the standard. But note, depending on what chemical you put in there, sometimes you might find it better to put the actual unknown into the burette. And if that's the case, obviously you wash it with the unknown. But in our case, for this example, you wash with the water, then when you wash with the standard, another way of saying it, you wash with water and then wash with the chemical that's going to be used inside the burette. And that's how you clean your burette for a titration.